My husband is large, Latino, and currently psychotic. Please don't shoot. These are the words that I begged into Seattle police officers' body cameras on February 17th, 2021. The hospital gave my husband transplant-level steroids and dexamethasone when he was fighting for his life against COVID-19 in the Swedish First Hill Intensive Care Unit. Swedish lost him. They lost his records. They lost his belongings. As a result, he ran to the streets of Seattle in active psychosis. As soon as I learned this had happened, I called my brother-in-law, who is a Latino cop in California. My brother-in-law told me, "I'll take care of this. Do not call the police. They will shoot him." My brother-in-law is far away, and because my husband was a medical resident, we had just moved to the area, and we didn't have any family or friends in the entire geographic region. I had to decide, do I go with what my brother-in-law is telling me and take the chance that my husband will survive the streets in the snow in February with no coat after just barely surviving respiratory distress a few days earlier, or do I take a chance and call the cops? I called 911 3 times that day, each time emphasizing, my husband is large, Latino, and currently psychotic. He will look scary, but he isn't. He doesn't have any weapons and has never, ever been violent. He is very afraid of cops. Please don't shoot. When 2 white cops showed up at my apartment, I cried and cried into their body cameras, knowing that if they did harm to my husband, my white snowflake face would cause a bigger uproar. I talk a big game when it comes to race and privilege and oppression, and I was knee-deep into my doctoral studies at this point. And yet, in that moment, when it is your loved one who you are begging for, you don't care. You wield whatever privileges you have. After 7 hours of police searching, of calling everybody that I could possibly think of, my husband returned to our apartment. He didn't recognize me, and he kept screaming that he wanted to die. I called 911 for the 3rd time that day. I begged for a medical non-police team to come help me. They declined and said because of protocol, they had to send a police team. Because of luck and privilege, an Officer Jimenez showed up at our door, another Latino cop. He talked to my brother-in-law on the phone and then to my husband. He was able to help everybody calm down and assess that my husband wasn't in immediate danger. Now, he had ran from the ICU, he had almost died of respiratory distress, and he was screaming that he wanted to die at the top of his lungs, so not in immediate danger is relative. Even though that was one of the worst days of my life, it at least didn't end as badly as it could have. I keep this card from Officer Jimenez to remind myself that there are good people who, with limited resources, will help you when you're in crisis. I shared this experience in the wake of the death of Jaahnavi Kandula and the viral body cam footage of an officer laughing and joking about how much her life is worth. I showed this card for all of the people screaming that Blue Lives Matter and that there are good cops out there. Officer Jimenez is proof that there are good cops. The problem is, I could have gotten Officer Daniel Arder, the white cop who's laughing about the value of Jaahnavi's life, instead. What would he have thought my husband's life was worth? Large, Latino, psychotic. How would he have handled that situation? Was it my aggressive, Karen-tastic phone calls and body cam footage that meant Officer Jimenez was dispatched to our home instead of Officer Arder? Was it the collectiveness of my white privilege, our education, and my brother-in-law's cop status? Was it just sheer dumb luck? The truth is, I don't know. The one thing I do know is that Seattle will do what they always do. They will have massive protests. There will be 100 speeches by liberal politicians all over the place. There will be signs and hashtags galore. But in the end, they will implement a band-aid solution that doesn't come close to addressing the underlying systemic problem. I know how lucky I am. My husband is working in the next room, and I know that Jaahnavi Kandula's family would do anything to have her at home right now.